Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Since November the 8th, a slew of opinions and perspectives have been doing the rounds about demonetization. The public is queued, and that is what has garnered the most attention so far. The inconvenience the common man has had to suffer. What about the virtues of this move? Nobody talks about those. How will it put in line the economic troubles the government has been trying to fight since independence? We throw some light on that and try to explain both the sides of this particular equation and this particular rule which has been implemented by the government. And to shed more light and to give their expertise on current issues today, we have the following guests. Latik Tekchandani, who's a property expert, will be joining us very soon. Mr. S.P. Sharma, he's a chief economist, PhD Chambers of Commerce. He will also be joining us very soon. Mr. Uttam Agrawal, chartered accountant, will be joining us from Mumbai. Mr. Agrawal, let's begin with you. Okay, there has been a lot of criticism against this move. People have been queuing up in lines. There's, a dearth of cash. The traders, the laborers, the small-time businessmen, they have been suffering the most. But let's highlight the positives of this particular move. The economy, how is that going to improve? The GDP, how is that going to be incremented because of this particular move? I want your honest viewpoint on that, sir.
Mr. Vicky, rightly you said there will be a difficulty in implementing this particular move, right? But what was the agenda behind withdrawal of this 500 and 1000 rupees currency note, right? Main agenda was what? The fake currency.
Right.
And second thing, that the thing what is happening across the border. And today you must have seen in other channel also that this Al-Qaeda and all people have sent the money, fake currency back to this country, and they said that you sold on the less prices and all these things. So ultimately this move will certainly give certain problem to the Aam Aadmi, but ultimately it will be in the interest of the economy. The huge fund will be coming right on the paper, and that will help in boosting. A lot of fund will be available. You must have seen 2 days back said that we are planning to reduce the rate of interest also by the bank and all these things. So just we wait what Honorable Prime Minister said, that just give me 50 days, right? Moment this inconvenience, right, to exchange of the note, and even the small trader who are able to not sell their goods and all these things. But ultimately I can give the example when the bridges are built up on the road. There is a difficulty for even 1 year or 2 years, but after build up of the bridges, I think we all feel convenient and good.
Mr. Agrawal, do you think tax
it is
tax
going
compliance,
to boost the economy?
So tax compliance is probably one area which the government has been really worried about. There was an income disclosure scheme also which took place in the last few months, in the last couple of quarters, but that was not probably a success. Do you think this was probably let me complete. Do you think this was probably a knee-jerk reaction to the failure of that particular scheme?
When they mentioned in the circular, right, one of the things they have said that there is a failure of the amnesty scheme, and immediately action only they wanted to, because Honorable Prime Minister said, I have given the last chance to everyone, right? And this is certainly the failure of that particular scheme also.
Okay, well, so how is the common man supposed to equate this? It's a failure by the government, and why should he suffer? Why should he stand in lines? Why should he be deprived of his cash? Why should he be put in such a spot of bother?
No, it is not the failure of even, we can't say it is a failure of the government. People could not understood, right? So it is not that, there has to be both the party, government as well as the public at large. So we can't say it is a failure of the government, therefore we people are suffering. They given the chance, they want to bring everything in the economy, right? And हमने बचपन में जब सुना था भारत एक सोने की चिड़िया है, so that our Honorable Prime Minister is saying the dreaming that the fact should come. So therefore he is taking the initiative. It is not only that failure, but it is one of the things that the scheme was failed. Therefore and even he won so many occasions. So people could not understood him, and now he has taken the actions.
Okay, Mr. S.P. Sharma, Chief Economist, PhD, Chambers of Commerce, is also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Sharma, thank you for talking to us. One of the benefits of this particular move is going to be that the banks are going to be gathering a lot of cash. Tax compliance is going to improve. So eventually the government will have a lot of money. But what the common man would be interested in is knowing whether this money, this collection, this huge, humongous amount that the government is going to collect, will it translate into better infrastructure? Will it translate into better facilities for the common man or not? And if so, what will be the gestation period? How long will it be, before this is translated into something positive for the common man?
I think it's a win-win situation for everybody, for common man, for government, for businessmen, and for other stakeholders of the industry, because everybody is going to benefit from this move. And the major benefit will come from the lower inflation. That is a major threat for the common man always. Because now the people will see lower prices and their affordability to purchase so many things from the market. Earlier, black money was impacting the inflationary scenario. Despite the so many measures undertaken by the Reserve Bank of India, increasing the repo rate, they were not able to control inflation because of black money in the system. So I think the policy transmission will be fruitful in the coming times with the advent of removal of this black money from the system.
But sir, what about the cash intensive sectors such as real estate and construction and some of the discretionary household consumption items? How long will they have to suffer because of this move?
Not for a longer period. I think things will improve and will become normal in the next few days, because every move, every change is a challenge for anybody. So I believe there should not be any apprehension about the things. One should take positively all the happenings, as the government is doing good for the economy, for the people, for the stakeholders of the industry.
Okay, we talk about growth, we talk about our GDP being stationary for the last few years. Well, it has grown, but not at the rate at which the government would have liked. What kind of a result, Mr. Agarwal, would this bear on the GDP growth, if at all any?
Unless and until we don't see how much collections and everything is coming to the bank, right? Today, assuming any figure, right? What will be the GDP and all? It will not be good. Let us see some days that how much money people have said that almost 4,000 crore rupees around has been exchanged from the bank. So let us see how much money is coming in the inflow to the bank. Then only we can understand and where will the money will be deployed by the people. So today, because GDP constitutes so many things, so unless and until we don't know, we can't say what will. Certainly, it will improve.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, the same question, I would get your perspective on this as well. The GDP growth is probably a concern which the government has been sharing. It's been working on it because, the investments which are made in our country are probably directly indicative of, our GDP growth. This move is probably going to impact our GDP growth to some extent. Some experts also say that it's not going to impact it more than half or 1%. What is your perspective, sir?
I don't think that it will impact GDP in a significant way. Though there may be some impact, we can see some impact on GDP, but good monsoon will negate that impact also, because the agriculture sector is going to contribute 6-7% growth. So if agriculture sector is growing at the rate of 6-7%, then the impact of demonetization is nullified. So I don't think any significant impact on GDP, and I would suggest that there must be some focus on the interest rate. If we have enough liquidity in the system, then RBI should think about reducing the repo rate. That will compensate the impact on GDP in the coming times.
Okay, to reduce the repo rate. And Mr. Agarwal, another area of concern would be for the consumers would be inflation. That's probably one demon that they've been trying to ward off for a long time. Can we see some improvement there as well, sir? Mr.
Yes,
Agarwal.
there will be improvement in this. There will be an improvement. on the consumer inflation, and it will reduce.
How, sir? Explain it to the common man, because a lot of people are confused. A lot of people are wondering that how will this impact their day-to-day life? You know, inflation is something that will probably ease off all the tension, the despair that they are going through because of these long lines. Would you mind explaining how will it actually impact inflation?
Because what will happen now, because earlier there was a huge content of the black money in the various transactions, right? So now the cost will reduce for various things. Now in the housing sector, we all are aware, right? Okay, how much money, black money is poured into this particular sectors. So market price of the particular construction industry also will reduce to the great extent. So same way, when you take the example of this housing sector, so other sector will also, there will be a reduction of cost, and that will help to the consumers.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sharma, inflation is something that we are talking about. You know, banks will benefit. There will be a lot of liquidity that they will enjoy. But let us not forget that black money, you know, at times has also bailed our country out from a lot of problems. You know, the 2008 recession, for example, was one area where, you know, the parallel economy which existed in our country can be credited as one of the reasons why we were not impacted so severely. We were impacted to a certain extent, but we were probably saved, we were cushioned by the black money element. Do you concur, sir?
No, I don't think that black money is contributing in our economy in any way, because black money impacts our economy because of inflation, high inflation. Despite so many measures and despite the high repo rate, we were not able to reduce our inflation numbers for so many years. Not for months, not for quarters, but for so many years, our interest rate remained in the higher trajectory. That impacted our demand scenario. So, and that impacted our common man. 70% of population is not holding any black money. 80% of population is not holding any black money. They are living in villages. So, I think there is no contribution of black money in the system in the growth scenario of India's economy. But with the removal of this black money from the system, I think inflation will be in a comfortable trajectory and will benefit the common man firstly. So there is no impact of black money on our growth scenario in a positive way.
Okay, you know, Make in India is probably a campaign that you know, the BJP, the Prime Minister and the, you know, the current government and cabinet have heavily relied on. You know, the foreign markets have been eyeing India as a potential and a very, very fertile place for investments. Does this move impact that perspective in any way? Mr. Sharma? Mr. Sharma, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Sharma, can you hear me? Okay, the question, sir, is,
yes.
you know, foreign investments,
Yeah.
will they take any kind of a hit? You know, our image in the world, you know, the image of our economy in the world, you know, as one of the most robust places to invest, will that be impacted in any way?
No. Because now India is very attractive to the world community in terms of investments, in terms of growth. Now we are the fastest moving economy and our share in the world GDP is also increasing. Earlier at the time of Lehman crisis, we were only 1.5, 1.6% of GDP, world GDP. Now we are close to 3% of world GDP. That is a good thing for our economy, for the investors, for the international investors. They will invest in India like anything, but black money was a major problem that was stoking inflation in the system. Because of so many measures undertaken by the government and by the RBI, we were not able to control inflation. So I think if inflation culprit is killed, we have lot of potential to enter in the double-digit growth trajectory in the coming times.
Okay, sir, but how would you stop?
And that will attract lot of investments from the international community, not from the developing economies, but from the advanced economies also.
Okay, sir, but you know, the reservoirs of cash is only a matter of time before they build up and, you know, cash becomes handy and available in large proportions again. What kind of checks and balances can the government introduce or should introduce, you know, in order for this, you know, this problem of black money from being reintroduced again? Mr. Sharma? Sir, can you hear me? Okay, I think there's a problem with the audio. I'll bounce off that same question to Mr. Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, if you heard my question, please let me know. Otherwise, I will repeat it for you, sir.
Yeah.
So, have you heard my question? The question is.
Can you repeat just?
Okay, the question is that how will the government, introduce some checks and balances to stop, black money from being reintroduced into the economy and the market again?
Have you seen every day there are certain announcements done by the ministry, even the finance secretary and everyone, each and every step wherever they are able to know, right? So yesterday they introduced the ink system, earlier they introduced the system, right? For that one gentleman can go to the bank, another immediately they catch hold. Now they are saying even the zero balance account, they can put 50,000, they will be investigated. So machinery, government machinery will be working on it, but let me tell you, the reintroduction of black money will be continue, but not to the extent what it was there, right? Because the denomination of note will be the 100 rupees, right? Earlier the 500, 1000. Now also there is a 2000. So a lot of parties are saying that will be more black money because of introduction of 2000 rupees note. But I am sure the way the government initiative are being taken, right? The introductions of black money in the future will be very, very less, because every day people are even getting afraid that sometimes Modi ji may introduce about the locker supervision in the bank. The people were talking, some WhatsApp is going on that people cannot have more than 2 properties, so many initiatives. I think there has been a certain discussion, maybe, therefore things are coming up. But once Modi ji has come to know, and even our honorable finance minister, that yes, by taking one initiative it is a good thing, so they will be taking more initiative and they will use the maximum the IT system. So IT system will help for tracing out all the transactions.
Okay. Mr.
So
Lalit
that will reduce, but it will continue to generate the black money.
Okay, Mr. Lalit Tekchandani is with me in the studio. Growth in cash-intensive sectors is something we spoke about, Lalit, and property and real estate and construction is one of them. I was reading a newspaper recently, and property prices in Chandigarh and Gurgaon have already been affected as per this move. How big is this damage going to be to the real estate industry, and if so, how much longer will it take for it to come back and become normal again?
Right. You see, there are two kinds of market when you talk about real estate. One is a secondary market and one is a primary market. The secondary market is going to bear the effect of this demonetization very severely. Because you see, the way transactions happen, there are two components. There is an A component, there is a B component, and the difference is always there in the secondary market. So with this introduction, today, if I look at, because there's no transaction happened in last 2 days, if I look at the market, today's circle rate is the market rate. But eventually, right now, if you look at the circle rates also, if you see in last 4-5 years, gradually circle rates were increasing. And if we average it out, then the difference between circle rate and the market rate, circle rate is 75%, market rate is plus 25%, it becomes 100%. So there was 25% of cash component involved in transactions that were happening. This is an average 25%. Okay. There are some places where circle rate and market rate are also almost equal. So those sectors will not take a burn, but naturally the sectors where money involvement was more, the cash involvement was more, that's going to take a hit, a severe hit.
Do you think this will probably serve as a great equalizer? Because back in the days, now I would refer it as back in the days, people probably invested in property as an investment.
Right.
Now that perspective and that motivation would probably change.
But if you look at the other perspective, the prices, they were very absurd. They were going up drastically. Looking at the dent which real estate sector was going, the market was not good. There was liquidity crisis. There were a lot of things which were not as it is good for real estate, and a double dose of this kind of
a
things.
move. Yeah.
So these are a deterrent, and we were waiting for corrections to happen. There were corrections that were happening, but not to the extent that was anticipated in the market.
Right.
So this would at least correct the market by 15%, because right now what will happen is, for the seller it is again a tough market, because today he's not going to deal in circle rates, he's going to ask you more, and everything is going to be a check component, a white component, and then he has to bear the capital tax on it, which is almost 30%. So for a seller, it's a severe blow. For a buyer, it's an opportunity. One is just waiting and watching the market, how transactions are happening after this announcement. But you will see a lot of inventory that was in the market. The supply, which was too high, will get nullified with this move.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, I'm going to come back to you. Real estate is something that probably will benefit out of this, maybe in the long run and not in the short run. Sellers will probably have a problem in the secondary market. But, the government, would you consider this, a master stroke or a master move by the government, because first came the Jan Dhan Yojana and, the introduction of the GST, the tax reforms, and now this, there's been planning on this for a long time. And, the government has to be given some sort of an appreciation and admiration for the timing of this entire thing. What's your perspective on this? The planning that, the government did, it was in fact, a lot of people are calling it a surgical strike on black money. In fact, I'm not sure whether it was a surgical strike, but it was, surgical planning on black money, which would probably go down in history as one of the most, momentous, moves by any government. Your opinion, sir?
I think it is the surgical planning actually to curb the black money. Everything is happening in sequence. As GST is going to be implemented from 1st April, so I think demonetization is a great move and great breakthrough to curb the black money, because GST is a very transparent tax, and that will not allow any black money to happen in the system, in the manufacturing sector and the other sectors of the economy. So with the implementation of GST and this move, demonetization before the implementation of GST, is a good situation for transparency in the economy and to curb all the evils from the economy.
Okay, Lalit, coming back to you, demand and supply is probably something that people are expecting to take over in the real estate market. Right. Do you think demand and supply is going to be the ruler of the real estate economy now?
See, if you talk about real estate, there are two factors which run the market. One is demand and supply, the other one is sentiments. Right now, both were negative for the real estate market. But coming down to this, when we see, if you talk about the unsold inventory of primary market, as it is, the builders have squeezed down on the profit margins. They've come to a very basic percentage of margin which they command from the market. But with this market, there is going to be a sudden break in the market. The market was reviving gradually with the announcement of real estate bill, and with the people anticipating the liquidity from the pay commission thing. Things were moving positive. This has put a full stop to the movement of real estate market. Today, to survive, those builders got to squeeze on their margins furthermore. So it's a right time, I would say, if we can just wait for a month or two to see how the real estate market is reacting to all this. But I would say this would be the right time to probably invest, because people who have already invested in the land, the unsold inventory and all, the cost and whatever the cost and whatever the feasibility they must have done with their project has already taken a toll. It's gone for a toss. With the new projects coming up in the market, the land is going to be cheaper with this kind of demonetization thing, where the other component is going to minify. Land is going to be cheaper, so thus you will be able to give I would say affordable housing to people. So there are a lot of things with this. It is very important to dispose of the inventory by, either ways. You have to take measures, you have to take proactive measures to just nullify the supply which is abundant.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, the banks are going to be inundated with white money, and that will probably increase a lot of deposits. There'll be a surge in facilities that the banks offer. Out of 132 crore people in our country, probably 2% of those people, probably lesser, actually pay taxes. Compliance is a big issue. People who have not been exposed to the benefits of paying tax, what kind of a message does this move send to them?
No, now everything will be in the system, right? And you are all aware that any amount now put into the bank for the deposit, the banks are asking for the PAN number, and if there is a interest payment on that, they are deducting the TDS. So right after deducting the TDS, they are sending the information. So each and every informations are now available. Who has made the deposit, how much amount he has earned. So income tax department, they are sending a notices to them. Earlier, what used to happen, the salary people used to think that they have already paid the taxes on the salary what they have received, and if they have invested, so whatever TDS has been deducted, that is already deducted. So we have no liability. But after receiving a notice from the department, when they reconcile with the TDS amount, interest amount, and calculate the tax demand was more. So salary people and other people were also, wherever there was a tax liability, the people have assessed, he has paid the tax liability.
Okay, overall, it's a brilliant move. It's a master stroke.
All amount put in the bank.
And all the panelists on the show are
It's a
unanimously, it's unanimously agreeing that it is a master stroke by the government. Obviously, there are going to be pitfalls, there are going to be problems, which we refer to as teething problems, but they will disperse in a matter of time. That is all we have on current issues. I'd like to thank all our guests for being with us and sharing their expert opinion. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.